Hello YouTube, Mike Kohanim here, and today I am going to talk about one of many duelists' favorite archetypes, Toons. Toon monsters have a pretty long history in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. They've had a weird variety of drawbacks and effects throughout time, and in a recent TCG set of Toon Chaos, they got a lot of new cards that really revolutionized the theme and made them a lot stronger. So I'm going to talk about some of the deck's strongest strategies now, and how they play differently now than they did in the past when you may have remembered them if you're a returning player or just a fan of the animated series. So over time, many different Toon monsters were printed, and they had a weird variety of drawbacks that included having to pay life points to attack, not being able to attack on the turn they're summoned, and being destroyed if Toon World is destroyed. So not all of the Toons have all of these drawbacks. And there's actually now a really powerful Toon that has none of these drawbacks, which is Toon Blackluster Soldier. So because of how strong Toon Blackluster Soldier is, it has sort of become the focal point of the deck, and most Toon decks rely on summoning it and using it to win. The cards in Toon Chaos were really strong for Toon decks. I would still consider Toons only a casual deck. I did build it in, obviously I built it in Master Duel to use in ranked duels, and the climb with Toons was very slow. So I quickly switched to one of my other decks, but they're a lot of fun to play. And I resumed playing them once I hit Platinum 1 again. However, the Toon decks are not at all reliant on the extra deck, which also makes them a great choice for the Xyz Festival, which I have now been using them in. So if you enjoy playing Toons, listen up in this video and I'll give you a brief overview that will explain some of the best plays and combos that you can make with the deck. If you enjoy this video and want to see more like it, please like and subscribe to my channel so that I know people are watching the videos, and it gives me great encouragement to continue making them. One of the first big differences in Toon decks that make them drastically different from when Toons were first released in Spell Ruler is the release of Toon Kingdom, which actually was released quite some time ago. But Toon Kingdom counts as Toon World while it's on the field, but also has additional powerful effects. Toon World, on the other hand, costs 1,000 life points to activate it, and has no effect. It basically just provides a reference card on the field for the Toon monsters that require Toon World to be on the field. But Toon Kingdom, in addition to all of that, protects all of your Toon monsters from destruction by banishing the top card of your deck face down anytime one of them would be destroyed, and prevents them from being targeted. You do have to banish the top 3 cards of your deck face down to activate Toon Kingdom, but that is a small price to pay for to make your Toons nearly invincible, just like they were when Pegasus used them in Duelist Kingdom in the animated show. So Toon Kingdom makes Toons really fun to use and frustrating to play against. But they're powerful to wield because they are really tough to break through if your opponent can't get through Toon Kingdom. Because of that, in my Toon deck, I use a lot of cards to try to protect the kingdom, like Solemn Judgment and Solemn Strike, which can protect it from the effects of cards like Nightmare Unicorn and Shuraig, which is problematic for the deck since it can banish the Toon Kingdom. You may remember a Toon Table of Contents, which lets you search your deck for any Toon card and add it to your hand. In Toon Chaos, in the TCG, we also received Toon Bookmark, which is almost just a better version of Toon Table of Contents, which can search for Toon World or a card that lists Toon World in its text, which is most Toon cards. And if your Toon World would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish the Toon Bookmark from your graveyard instead in order to protect that card. So Toon Bookmark in the graveyard will protect your Toon Kingdom from destruction, since Toon Kingdom is Toon World on the field. So that's protecting the kingdom is the main goal of the deck, because once you land a Toon monster on the field, if you can protect the kingdom, your opponent won't be able to break through. In addition, no matter how many monsters your opponent amasses on the field, as long as you control Toon Kingdom or Toon World and your opponent has no Toons, your Toon monster can attack directly. So in addition to not being targetable and being indestructible, it can attack directly and it will eventually end the duel. Two of the other recently released cards in Toon Chaos that you'll see in Master Duel are Toon Terror, which is similar to Solemn Judgment or Solemn Strike in that it helps you protect the kingdom, and Toon Page-Flip, which lets you quickly get your high-level Toon monsters onto the field. Toon Terror negates a spell, trap, or monster effect when that effect is activated, as long as you control both Toon World and a Toon monster. The only thing I don't like about Toon Terror is you can only activate one per turn. So unlike Solemn Judgment, which you can set as many as you want and use all of them in succession, it's rarely beneficial to have more than one Toon Terror on your field face down, but it serves an important role in protecting Toon Kingdom. Similarly, or not really similarly, but Toon Page-Flip is equally or if not more powerful. Although you can only use it while Toon World is face up, it lets you choose 3 Toons from your deck, 3 different Toons from your deck, and your opponent randomly picks one of them for you to special summon to your field. That's where we get into the package that revolves around Toon Blackluster Soldier. Okay, Toon Blackluster Soldier has none of the drawbacks of a Toon monster. You don't have to pay life points to attack with it. It's not destroyed if Toon Kingdom is destroyed. And, most remarkably, it can attack the turn you summon it. And as a Toon monster, it can attack directly if you have Toon World out. In addition, instead of attacking, as long as you have Toon World out, you can also just banish a card on the field, which can come in handy as well. So Toon Blackluster Soldier is incredible. The beauty about Toon Page-Flip is that you can choose Toon Blackluster Soldier, Toon Dark Magician, and Toon Red Eyes Toon Dragon with Toon Page-Flip. And whatever card your opponent randomly chooses, many times you'll be able to eventually summon Toon Blackluster Soldier during that turn. If your opponent chooses Toon Blackluster Soldier, which Toon Page-Flip will summon, ignoring its summoning conditions, that's it. Toon Blackluster Soldier is on the field. It can attack or banish a card immediately. If you summon Toon Dark Magician, Toon Dark Magician's effect lets you discard a Toon card from your hand to special summon a Toon monster from your deck, including Toon Blackluster Soldier. So then you'll have Toon Dark Magician and Toon Blackluster Soldier on your field. Toon Dark Magician can't attack the turn it's summoned, so it does have that drawback. But the only monsters that can attack the turn they're summoned are the Toon Blackluster Soldier and Toon Dark Magician Girl, which I don't play in this deck because you do have to tribute a monster to summon the Toon Dark Magician Girl. If you randomly get Red Eyes Toon Dragon with the effect of Toon Page-Flip, you can use Red Eyes Toon Dragon's effect to special summon either Toon Blackluster Soldier or Toon Dark Magician from your hand. And if you special summon Toon Dark Magician from your hand, you can then use Toon Dark Magician's effect to potentially summon Toon Blackluster Soldier from your deck. So this package of 3 monsters, Toon Dark Magician, Toon Blackluster Soldier, and Toon Red Eyes Black Dragon, will really help you get the Toon monsters on the field that you need to win the game. You can also summon the Red Eyes Toon Dragon with the effect of the Blackstone of Legend. Just summon Blackstone of Legend, tribute it, and you can special summon Red Eyes Toon Dragon from your deck. None of the Toon monsters in this deck require Toon World to be on the field to use them, but you're going to want Toon Kingdom on your field in order to protect them and to allow them to attack directly. There is one copy of Toon Cyber Dragon in this deck as well. It makes it a little easier to use Toon Page-Flip in case you draw all of your copies of 2 of your other Toons. At least you'll still have 3 different ones in your deck so that you can activate it. And probably the coolest thing about Toon Cyber Dragon in this deck is because it's a Cyber Dragon monster, you can fuse it with a card in an opponent's extra monster zone to summon Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon, which is sometimes a nice answer to a card like Shureg or Appaloosa. I am also using Toon Harpie Lady in this deck. I don't love it in here. It's just an easy to summon Toon monster because it's level 4, but I could definitely see this one getting removed. I do also use in this deck, as you should in any Toon deck, use many ways to get to Toon Kingdom. If you don't get Toon Kingdom, you're pretty much going to lose because you have no protection for your Toon monsters and they're otherwise mediocre. However, I do use 3 copies of Toon Kingdom, Terraforming, which adds Toon Kingdom from your deck to your hand, Metaverse, which lets you take a Toon Kingdom from your deck and either add it to your hand or activate it. And if you activate it in Chain, you won't have to banish the top 3 cards of your deck with Toon Kingdom. And I'm using 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance and a copy of Pot of Prosperity to help me draw Toon Kingdom if I need it and don't have it. Obviously, if I have the Toon Kingdom, I can search for or draw other cards instead. So getting Toon Kingdom is crucial, and you want to make sure you have plenty of ways to do it. Once you have the kingdom, as I mentioned before, your goal will be to protect the kingdom. And the trap cards in the deck help to do that, especially with Toon Terror being searchable by the effect of Toon Dark Magician. So that's the Toon deck in a nutshell. You'll notice I haven't really talked about the extra deck much, and that's because this deck doesn't use the extra deck much. Most of the Toon monsters with the protection of Toon Kingdom are stronger than the monsters you summon from your extra deck. You might occasionally go for Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon because of the fact that Toon Red Eyes Toon Dragon and Toon Dark Magician are both level 7 monsters, and if your opponent's low on life points, the Flare Metal Dragon can close out the duel. But overall, the extra deck exists so that you can use Pot of Extravagance and Pot of Prosperity by banishing cards from the extra deck. This is not a heavily reliant deck on the extra deck. This deck is not heavily reliant on the extra deck. Because of that, I also think this is a good choice to use in the Xyz Festival and maybe a good choice to use in upcoming festivals. Because while other decks like Eldritch have forbidden cards and are virtually unusable in the Xyz Festival, the Toon deck, my Toon deck in particular, only lost Pot of Extravagance and Pot of Prosperity, which are the pot cards that banish cards from the extra deck. In light of that, I am using Toons in the Xyz Festival and did a minor modification to the deck, adding in copies of Maxx, Ash Blossom, and even Torrential Tribute to help the deck control the field, and because the otherwise destroyed monsters can be protected by Toon Kingdom. So this deck has been serving me fairly well in the Xyz Festival. The extra deck I honestly just filled with random monsters because this deck really doesn't use it. The only one it might summon is Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. Going back to my original list, this is the Xyz event. You can also summon Cyber/Harpie Lady using Toon Harpie Lady because it uses a Harpie monster, which Toon Harpie Lady qualifies as, so that is something you potentially could summon as well. But for the most part, trust me, you're not using your extra deck. And that's what makes this deck viable, not only usable, but viable in the Xyz Festival, and that's what makes it my choice of deck for the festival. So I have played many duels with this deck once I reached Platinum 1. It's a lot of fun to use, and now I'll go through those replays and talk about kind of what plays I made, why I made them, and what your focus should be when you are using a Toon deck. Here's my first duel. At the time I recorded this duel, I was using Harpie's Feather Duster and Comic Hand in my deck. Harpie's Feather Duster is really just a tech card. I removed it so I'd have more ways to get Toon Kingdom. And Comic Hand, I feel, is a kind of a win more card because you already have to have the Toon Kingdom out to activate it. So I'd rather just lean on the tunes without having to rely on my opponent having a monster to use Comic Hand with. Nevertheless, I was using in my deck at the time I played this deck, or this version of the deck, so there it is. So I have the Kingdom, but no way to summon a monster, which is problematic. But I do eventually draw the Black Stone of Legend, which lets me summon Toon Red Eyes, and from there I can activate Toon Kingdom to protect it. Toon Red Eyes' effect special summons Toon Dark Magician, ignoring its summoning conditions. Toon Dark Magician special summons Toon Blackluster Soldier, ignoring its summoning conditions. And then Toon Blackluster Soldier could attack directly because Toon World's on the field, but I instead choose to get rid of Shizuku in a way that Ray cannot return to the field. So my opponent tries to Raigeki my field, but Toon Kingdom's protection lets me protect all three monsters by banishing the top three cards of my deck. And my opponent promptly concedes, realizing that I have 7,800 points of damage on the field, and realizing that he's not going to win. As you can see, the Comic Hand was still in my hand at the end of the duel. I really didn't need it. And when I was playing the deck with Comic Hand in it, I found that was most often the case. So I removed it. I just feel like it's a win more card. It's a card that's really only good when you're already winning. And I know that's not necessarily true because your opponent could have a huge monster on the field that is a problem for you, but in my experience, most monsters that are still on the field on your own turn are not really a problem because you can just attack directly with your tunes. So in the second duel, I open with Pot of Extravagance, which is really nice because it gets me 2 cards. But I don't have much going on after that, so I just set a Solemn Judgment. I'm playing against Trap Trick, so I did luck out because I'm playing against a slow enough deck that I don't instantly lose. So he summons Trap Trick Sarah, sets 3, and it's back on me. So I finally get to Toon Kingdom. Pot of Extravagance, you have to activate at the start of your main phase, so it's the first thing I do. And then I use Toon Kingdom, and then summon Toon Blackluster Soldier. Now you can summon Toon Blackluster Soldier by contributing 8 levels worth of tunes from your hand. That's not the ideal way to summon it, since there's so many ways to bring it out, ignoring its summoning condition. But since I had none of those ways, it definitely works out here, where I hard draw 2 copies of Toon Blackluster Soldier. From there, my opponent has all these back row cards and a monster in defense mode, but Blackluster Soldier can attack directly. As I continue to draw copies of Solemn Judgment, you can see that I've pretty much sealed up the duel because I can stop any 3 cards that would threaten my Toon Kingdom, while the Toon Kingdom is protecting the Toon Blackluster Soldier that can attack directly. So in spite, I don't know what those back row cards are, but if they destroy, if they would destroy or target the Toon Blackluster Soldier, they're just not useful. So I fairly easily win that duel. This hand looks really good. So in addition to the Pot of Extravagance, which I can use to draw 2 cards immediately, I have Toon Bookmark, which lets me get the Kingdom, while the Bookmark also protects the Kingdom from the graveyard. So the Black Stone of Legend lets me special summon Red Eyes Toon Dragon from my deck. And my opponent foolishly tries to Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which accomplishes nothing. My opponent uses Dark Ruler No More, which also does nothing because the monsters on my field can't be destroyed due to Toon Kingdom. They don't actually have relevant effects on my opponent's turn. My opponent tries to summon Hayati, then just sets 2. So my opponent in this match made a lot of mistakes, but I had an incredible opening and it didn't really matter. So right now I have 54 points of damage on the field. I search for Toon Blackluster Soldier to special summon with Red Eyes Toon Dragon, and Toon Blackluster Soldier can attack the turn it's summoned. So the attacks from the 2 Blackluster Soldiers and the Red Eyes Toon Dragon are over 8,000 points of damage. This is a really good hand once again because it has the Kingdom, it has the Page-Flip, and it has Toon Table of Contents as well, so it can search for ways to protect the field that I amass, and to more importantly, or more specifically, to protect the Toon Kingdom. At this point in the duel, it looks like I'm just playing against a pretty standard Tri-Brigade deck. Tri-Brigade is problematic for Toons just because Shurag is capable of banishing the Toon Kingdom, while Toon Bookmark can't protect it. But if there's a hand that could beat them, this is certainly it. So I start with the Blackstone of Legend to try to summon the Red Eyes Toon, which I do. I activate the Toon Kingdom. And my opponent does chain Revolt. He has to actually get rid of the Almirage from the extra monster zone so that he's able to summon a Link monster because he had no zones with arrows pointing to them. So obviously he placed his monsters in the wrong spot, because had he put Almirage in the other extra monster zone, he would not have had that problem. But in any case, he does it. He summons Shurag, and then he uses Shurag to banish a card without targeting it. He chooses the Red Eyes Toon Dragon, which I don't think is the correct move. I think the Kingdom is more problematic, but that's what he picks. I always like to Toon Table of Contents for a Toon Bookmark if I don't have the bookmark already, and then use the bookmark to search for the card I want, because bookmark gives protection to the Toon Kingdom while it's in the graveyard. So it's nice to have there in case your opponent would destroy the Toon Kingdom. So I get grab protection with the Pot of Prosperity. That's the Solemn Strike. And then I use Toon Dark Magician to summon Toon Blackluster Soldier from my deck. I try to use Toon Blackluster Soldier's effect to banish the Shurag, but Forbidding Droplet negates its effect without targeting it. Nevertheless, with Toon Terror and Solemn Strike face down, I'm in good shape after my monsters return to their original attack points at the end of the turn. So he banishes the top 10 cards of his deck with Pot of Desires. I use Toon Terror to negate the activation after he pays the cost. I think it's well worth it when his final card is the Fractal, which I can then negate the effect of with Solemn Strike. All Shurag can do now is attack, but thanks to Toon Kingdom, I can protect whatever he attacks. Then on my next turn, I'll once again be able to banish Shurag with Toon Blackluster Soldier. And my opponent actually just concedes because of it. This is the final duel that I've recorded. Uh, this duel, I'm actually playing against a Prank Kids deck. I don't shoot a fire off the Maxi immediately. I wait for him to use the Lampsies effect, so he's committed a little bit more into the turn, and I'm guaranteed the draw with Maxi. But my opponent continues to special summon for the rest of this turn. I think giving me, if memory serves, it gives me the most cards I've ever drawn due to Maxi and Master Duel. So this is going to be a great turn for me. Without a doubt, it being the first turn of the duel and my opponent having absolutely no way to beat me on this turn, my opponent should have stopped summoning cards immediately. He should have given me the single draw off of Maxi and then stopped. I don't know if my opponent thought, like, it doesn't matter how many cards my opponent draws, I can still win this, but that's clearly not the case. So I draw a card to have 13 cards in my hand, or approximately 1/3 of my starting deck. And I pretty much have everything. So I Toon Kingdom, summon the Blackstone Legend, which he can easily destroy with his fusion monster, but I'm not really too worried about Battle Butler destroying my Blackstone Legend because I have so many other cards in my hand. And then once I create a field to sort of stabilize the board, I'll be able to protect it with 3 copies of Solemn Judgment and 2 copies of Toon Terror. So basically 5 cards that can negate anything. So I do successfully use the Blackstone Legend, which lets me summon the Red Eyes Toon Dragon. He did not destroy my monster with Battle Butler, though he could have. Then use Toon Page-Flip to choose 3 of the remaining Toon monsters in my deck. I end up with the Harpie, which I then tribute to summon the Toon Blackluster Soldier from my hand. I use its banish effect since I'm short from an OTK anyway, short of OTKing him, because he has 10,000 life points. So I figure no matter what, I can only win on my next turn and won't possibly win on this turn. So the 3,000 points of damage isn't particularly useful by attacking directly Blackluster Soldier. So I set my 5 crap cards and end my turn. When I have 5 crap cards that negate basically anything, and my opponent has 5 cards, I've basically won. There's only 9 cards in my deck, so while I could have protected my 4 monsters by banishing the top 4 of those cards, I instead used Toon Terror to negate the activation of the Raigeki. Because I have as many trap cards that negate anything as my opponent has cards, I am very quick to use my Solemn Judgments, and I was quick to use the Toon Terror, because at this point there's no way I can lose. Figure I'll help myself to 2 more cards with Pot of Extravagance, but he does have the Ash Blossom to negate its effect. But at the moment, I do have 10,900 points of damage on the field. My opponent only has 10,000 life points. So direct attacks from my 4 monsters should end it. And it does, even with him able to reduce the attack points of my Red Eyes Toon Dragon. So So that's it for my Toon deck. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it.